A massive ship crawls over a lush alien world. From the ground, a small town of villagers look up at the sky to see the looming ship. Nothing good will come of this. On the ship, we follow an Imperial lieutenant moving through dark control centers and sterile hallways, until finally, we reach an elaborate medical bay that looks more like a meditation room. A huge Bacta tank sits in the middle of the room. A mutilated figure floats in the water. It is nothing more than a torso. The officer speaks.
We have reached Iridonia, my lord.
Eyes open. It is Darth Vader. He is exposed, a shell of his former power. Collectively, machines swarm around him. Robotic prosthetics graft themselves to his tissue like armor until the man vanishes and the silhouette emerges. Vader is ready to hunt. A small ship makes its way to the surface. Vader and a small battalion of stormtroopers emerge. They walk through the city. It is quiet. All of the townspeople stop and stare at that threatening figure. Vader looks around. They know who he seeks. And he knows they know where he is. Finally, one of the villagers points in the direction of a small temple in the town square. Vader makes his way through the center street. There in the center of the temple is former Jedi Master and Council member Eth Koth.
I was beginning to think you would leave me alone.
This was always going to be your fate, Eth. It was only a matter of time.
And this? Was this always going to be your fate? A bringer of death. I thought your minions did most of your dirty work now.
Some require a stronger hand.
I'm flattered.
Don't be. This will only take but a moment. Do not resist.
Does anyone ever not resist?
Vader stares defiantly. He activates his lightsaber. Eth pulls his. The pair engage in an epic battle. Eth is surprised by how powerful Vader has grown. He did not expect such strength, both physically and in the Force. He uses the powerful mechanical prosthetics to his advantage, slashing and hacking away, putting Eth on the defensive. Vader uses a Force push that sends Eth through the wall of the temple.
You are a Jedi Master no longer, Eth.
Nor Mew.
Villagers come to Eth's defense trying to attack Vader. Vader uses the Force to obstruct their lines of sight. He pulls rubble and stone towards him to protect himself. Beams and bullets pepper the shields, round after round after round, until finally...
My turn.
Vader uses the Force to cause the rubble to explode outward, hitting everyone in its path. He throws his lightsaber and whips it around the square, cutting everyone down until finally only Eth remains. The crimson blade snaps back into Vader's hand. Overcome with emotion to see innocent people wiped out for defending him, he acts recklessly and lashes out at Vader. Within a few moves, Vader wounds him as he flails with rage. Eth drops to his knees.
So this is your life now, eh? Chasing ghosts?
I only have one last ghost to hunt, Eth. But you are nothing more than an errand.
And then with one swift cut, it is over. Eth Koth is no more. Thousands of light years away, a sprawling desert emerges. There is nothing but dry air on the horizon and golden sand on the surface. This is a familiar landscape. This is Tatooine. In the distance, a large work site emerges. It is a butchering crew that is harvesting a fresh kill in the Dune Sea. The workers are tired, underpaid, and underappreciated. Amongst them is a familiar silhouette, ruddy red hair, blue eyes, fair skin that has tanned in the Tatooine heat. It is Obi-Wan Kenobi, known now only as... On the distant outer rim planet of Tatooine, Obi-Wan works for a small hunting operation in the Dune Sea. His look? Intense. His body? Still in good condition relative to his age. The whistle blows and the butchers begin to depart. One of the managers gives him a hard time as he tries to exit.
Sagada. Ai Toto.
He throws him a gaze, knowing full well he could cut him down in an instant, but he says nothing. He takes the abuse and his payment and exits. He travels far off into the mountains to a small hovel where he makes his home. He eats a small bit of bread and meat as he watches the sunset. A small moisture farm can be seen far off in the distance. It's the Lars family moisture farm. He sees a little boy helping an aging Owen. He smiles and retreats back into his cave. He looks around curiously but calm. He places a blindfold over his eyes, takes a ready position, and looks over his shoulder.
Now.
Suddenly the lights go dim. A lightsaber flies to his grip. Red blaster bolts fire through the room rapidly. Obi-Wan moves through the room, tagging trainer remotes as he expertly dodges and repels the low-energy trainer remote fire. 6 remotes encircle him until all are dismantled and fall to the ground. The training exercise is over. He removes the blindfold, unimpressed by his spectacular performance. Then a voice comes into focus.
Not bad, Obi-Wan.
Master.
Hello, my apprentice.
It is the Force ghost of his old master, Qui-Gon Jinn.
So you just pop in whenever you want now, eh?
When I sense you need me, yes.
And how do you know when I need you, Master?
He gives Obi-Wan a look. He already knows the answer, but he speaks it anyways.
We are all connected to the Force, Obi-Wan. All energy is intertwined with one another. Bouncing, reflecting, refracting. All threads in the cosmic tapestry. Like ripples on an ocean, each distinct, and each connected. But you already know all of that, don't you?
Obi-Wan nods, but appears sullen.
What troubles you, Obi-Wan?
Obi-Wan sits down next to a fire under the night sky.
It's been 10 years, Master. I feel lost. I train every day for a day that may never come. An enemy that has already won. I watch over a child with nothing but the hope that he has the potential within him to become who we need him to be. All the while I sit here waiting until death or old age take me.
And?
I grow tired of waiting, Master. I want to fight. I want them to pay for what they did to us, what they took. I am angry and I don't know how to put that aside.
And what fuels your anger, Obi-Wan?
Fear.
Of?
Failure. I failed to teach the one person you entrusted me with, Master. The one who was supposed to be the greatest of us, and look what happened. And now I am to train another. I am no mentor, no master. Just a washed-up old soldier. I would rather just fight and be done with it.
If you had it your way, you'd fight the whole Empire, wouldn't you?
Obi-Wan looks down at the floor.
At least it would make it stop.
Qui-Gon feels Obi-Wan's distress.
Obi-Wan, you did what you could with the knowledge you had at the time. You did not fail the Jedi, or Anakin, or me. You cannot carry the weight of the past into the future. You carry it for no one other than yourself.
Then how do I put it down, Master? How do I let go of all of the mistakes, all of the failures?
Qui-Gon sits silently.
When you stop trying to carry it.
Obi-Wan looks over to Qui-Gon to argue his comment, but he is gone.
I hate it when he does that.
The next day, Obi-Wan heads into town to get some supplies. His days all run together now. Work, supplies, check in on the Lars farm, train, repeat. As he makes his way through the market, he sees one of the vendors being horribly abused by a patron. He thinks about stepping in, but knows his duty. He walks away, but before he does, he uses the Force to trip the patron. The crowd laughs. Off in the distance, a shadowy figure watches the same events unfold. He notices Obi-Wan and watches him until he gets on his mount and rides off again towards the red horizon. The figure vanishes into the dark alley. Obi-Wan makes his way home, checks in on the Lars family, and goes back to his cave to train. He hits all of the remotes again with accuracy, but this time he feels something different, something strange, the sensation that he is being watched. He acts quickly and hurtles his lightsaber at the opening of the cave. He takes off his blindfold to see the saber buried into the rock, melting the stone into molten hot smelt. A hooded figure stands next to the saber. Obi-Wan pulls it back and stands ready to fight.
Who goes there?
An admirer of your work, Obi-Wan.
You must have me confused with someone else.
The Jedi General who led the famous 212th? I don't think so.
Who are you?
The man removes his hood.
A friend.
It is the rogue Jedi, Cal Kestis. Obi-Wan sees the lightsaber on his hilt. He drops his guard.
Let's talk.
The pair sit and discuss.
Who are you, Cal Kestis?
I was one of the few who survived Order 66. I studied under Jaro Tapal at the time of the Purge. I made it out. Jaro didn't. Later I studied under Seer Junda.
I knew Seer. We were Padawans studying in the temple together when we were young. Is she...
Cal shakes his head. Obi-Wan recognizes the pain behind his eyes, the same pain he felt during the dark times. Obi-Wan changes subjects and decides to ask the only question that matters.
Why are you here?
Because we need you, Master Kenobi. Something is happening. Something big. Some years ago, the Empire started arresting not just Jedi, but anyone who had a detectable connection to the Force. For years, nobody knew where they had gone, but a few months ago, I found them. Some of them anyways.
So why come to me?
Master, I've spent my life trying to protect these Force sensitives, but I can't train them.
Obi-Wan connects the dots.
I think you've made a mistake. I am not fit to train a Jedi army.
Obi-Wan says the words but doesn't believe them.
You're wrong. Master, you trained Anakin Skywalker. You studied under Master Qui-Gon Jinn, all the way back to Master Yoda. You are one of the last masters there are. It has to be you.
No, I am not doing that. I can't.
Master, who else is there? There is no other alternative. We can't just bury our heads in the sand.
Obi-Wan feels the sting of Cal's words.
I said no. There are many things you do not understand, young Kestis. I am sorry you have come all this way. But the answer is still no.
Cal hears the certainty in his voice, but persists regardless.
There is one more thing you need to know. The shipyard that holds these Force sensitives is on Stujon. The name of the family that operates the facility is Kenobi.
The sentence hits Obi-Wan like a ton of bricks. He can't believe it. He hasn't had a notion of family for over 10 years. He knows nothing about his birth family. The thought of meeting them again never even crossed his mind before, but this, he doesn't even know how to process it.
That's why it has to be you. I thought you could help me make sense of all of this. Figure out what's really going on.
Still in shock, Obi-Wan says nothing. Cal knows he hit a nerve. His message has been delivered. The seed has been planted.
I'm staying in an inn in Mos Eisley. I leave tomorrow at sunset. Come find me if you change your mind.
Cal exits the cave and fades away under the moonlight. Obi-Wan considers his proposal. The voice of Qui-Gon fades in.
You cannot join him, Obi-Wan. Your place is here. Your mission is here. Train the boy when he is ready.
Qui-Gon speaks, but Obi-Wan can't hear him. Something stirs inside of him he hasn't felt in years. Feelings he knows he should reject as a Jedi. A yearning for the truth. A yearning for battle. Out in the depths of space, Darth Vader's Star Destroyer cruises through the cosmos. He walks through the corridors of the ship until he finally arrives at a private holding facility. It is empty. He looks around curiously, searching for something or someone. Then a red beam ignites. A blur lunges from a dark corner of the apartment and slashes. Vader dodges. He ignites his blade. The two trade blows back and forth. Vader gets bored and uses a force grip on his attacker. He throws him toward the wall and he collapses. The battle is over as quickly as it began.
Your stealth abilities are still feeble, my apprentice.
The figure rises. It is a boy no older than 15, a young Galen Starkiller.
I am sorry, Master.
I have a mission for you.
Yes, my master.
One of my inquisitors is undercover at a remote shipyard facility. She believes that something is about to happen there. She has been monitoring for rebellious activity. I want you to accompany her and report back when the criminal enterprise is uncovered.
What is the nature of this facility, Master?
This facility is designed to detain Force sensitives the Empire has no further use for and put their labor to better use by serving the Empire. You will infiltrate as a prisoner yourself.
Yes, but my master. But why send 2 operatives?
The Inquisitor I deployed is most talented, my apprentice. I want you to learn what you can from her and then destroy her.
Sir?
I am training you to face the Emperor one day, child. If you cannot defeat a lone Inquisitor, what good are you to me?
And if I don't?
Then she will prove to be the better warrior and will take your place.
Galen internalizes this.
Does this give you pause?
Galen hesitates and then answers.
No. My master.
Good. You leave at once.
It's morning on Tatooine. Obi-Wan heads into town to meet a familiar face.
Hello, Owen.
Owen waves to young Luke to go fetch him some supplies.
What do you want, Ben?
I need to discuss something with you, Owen. Something important.
The two men move to a quieter part of the market.
Something's come up, Owen, and I may have a way to fight back without involving the boy.
Owen rolls his eyes.
Still thinking you can save the galaxy, eh, Ben?
Obi-Wan stays quiet.
I don't know what I can do, but if I can help the cause and leave the boy out of it, I want to.
We've never needed you, Ben. If you have some high-flying, star-hopping scheme, you're welcome to do it. Don't stop on our account.
Owen, the boy is meant for more than the life you want for him. Surely you see that. The Force will reveal his destiny one way or another, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, 'cause that's what the Force does, right? Guides us. The way it guided his father. The way it guided your precious Republic.
Those were different times, Owen. You wouldn't understand.
Oh, I understand just fine, Ben. I know you think we're just simple desert people here, but let me tell you something. We know everything we need to know about the Republic, the Empire. It's all the same to us. The government doesn't touch places like this because we don't have anything they want. But that doesn't stop people like you from coming through here thinking they were born for something more. That you're destined for some adventure in the stars while regular, honest people just try to go about their day. I watched that kid's grandmother weep every day because her son thought he was destined for more. So, what did he do? Abandon the only family he ever had while she withered away and got put in the ground. And now he's gone too. So what good did all that adventure do, eh? The suns still rise and they still set. The galaxy is more or less the same, so go on your little adventure, and I'll be right here taking care of my land and my family, because there is one thing I can promise you. No matter how much good you do out there, it's not going to change a thing around here.
Obi-Wan realizes this conversation is pointless and decides to abandon the topic.
I shouldn't be gone long. If there is any trouble here, use this.
Obi-Wan hands him a homing beacon with an actuator on it. Owen begrudgingly accepts. As he turns to leave, he speaks.
A lot of farmers have been having a lot of run-ins with the Sand People this season. Biggs almost lost his son the other day.
Very unfortunate.
No sightings around our farm, though. Not a peep.
Sounds like you're a very lucky man, Owen.
Owen nods. Obi-Wan turns to exit, knowing that's the closest to a thank you he will ever get from Owen Lars. A knock at a door. Cal opens. Obi-Wan stands in the doorway. The two men say nothing to one another. Obi-Wan enters.
Now listen here. I am coming with you to investigate and nothing more. If something feels off, if the younglings are too weak, or there is a problem with the Kenobis, then we abort. You understand me?
Cal nods.
I am not training these Force sensitives, but if we can get them to a safe haven, then maybe they'll have a chance.
Cal reluctantly agrees, but he can see through Obi-Wan's resistance. He knows he wants to get back in the fight. It is only a matter of time. The pair walk through the desert city and board the space transport to depart.
Ready?
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Let's go.
Near Stugin, a holding freighter approaches. Galen is shackled and handcuffed with a batch of newly collected Force sensitives. About 20 of them. Some young, some adults. All scared. Galen is calm, bored almost. He is dressed in rags, being barked at by Imperial officers. This feels beneath him, but he endures the humiliation all the same. They arrive on the factory landing platform. They are processed and given a short orientation. Galen quickly puts on his uniform and gets sent to work. The day passes and he performs remedial tasks, periodically glancing to see if he can spot the Inquisitor contact he needs to locate. The bell rings and their shift concludes. They proceed to a mess hall where he sees her. A young woman with dark hair. He approaches her and sits down.
Who are you?
I was sent by a mutual contact. Riva.
The woman looks up.
Just you?
I think that you'll find that I am quite effective.
Riva looks at him dismissively. He uses the Force to create a small grease fire in the kitchen. The chef panics but is able to get it under control.
Nice trick.
Would you prefer to see a bigger demonstration?
Riva rolls her eyes at him.
Relax, kid. Your little party tricks aren't going to protect you in here. Or him. You've made your point. What do you want to know about this place?
Starkiller takes a long pause and then says it.
Tell me everything.
The pair make their way through the stars to Obi-Wan's home planet, uncertain of what they will find there. Obi-Wan is nervous for the first time in a long time. What is all of this about his family? Who are they? What have they become? Cal sees the discomfort on his face and breaks the silence.
You know, when I was a kid, all of us heard stories about you two. Obi-Wan and Anakin. The stories were legendary.
Embellished, to be sure.
I don't think so. The battles, the duels, fighting in the face of certain death. How did you do it?
Obi-Wan sits silently, thinking on the question, recalling moments of victory and pain.
We trusted in the Force, and we trusted each other.
What happened to him? Master Skywalker.
Obi-Wan shrinks at the question, withdrawing from the conversation.
He was killed. A Sith found him and murdered him.
Cal leans in.
Who could possibly kill Anakin Skywalker?
A long pause.
Something evil.
Cal recounts the story of a great dark warrior he faced years ago in his youth. Someone more powerful than he had ever encountered. This must be the Sith Obi-Wan refers to. Obi-Wan's eyes ignite with pain.
Who was this Dark Lord?
I didn't know at the time. His entire body is covered in black armor. He moves less like a man and more like an unstoppable android, but he is alive. You can hear his respirator. I think the electronics on his chest are keeping him alive. Whoever he has suffered incredible injuries. I imagine he is in chronic pain, and yet he endures. He must be the same man who killed Anakin. Maybe Anakin is the one who maimed him. He was more powerful than anything I'd ever seen. They call him Vader.
A dark recognition washes over Obi-Wan's face. The connection is made. He now knows the truth. Anakin lives.
Excuse me.
Obi-Wan finds a quiet corner of the transport. Taken with emotion, his eyes water. His friend, his brother, is alive. He can't believe it. What can be done? Nothing. He centers himself and makes his way back to the seat.
Are you all right?
Yeah, sorry. I just needed a moment. Sad memories.
It is announced that they have finally arrived to Stugen.
Here we go. Follow me.
The pair make their way through a sprawling metropolis, a decadent city. They eventually make their way to an industrial landscape and see a massive build site.
That's it, the Kenobi shipyard.
The pair examine the facility. They see Imperial forces everywhere. They spot workers and laborers of all different ages, ranging from ages 10 to 25, all POWs.
They gather as many Force sensitives as possible, ones that never even wanted to become Jedi.
So what's the plan?
I hadn't really gotten that far yet. I was hoping you might be able to figure out how your family is involved in all of this.
Cal, you were raised by the Jedi. You know how it works. I don't have any connection to them. The Jedi took me when I was barely 5 years old. I have no idea what they are doing, or why they are doing it.
Obi-Wan sees an old man from a distance, someone who could only be his father. He is led by a group of Imperial officers. He greets a woman, kisses her, a woman he only assumes to be his mother. Seeing them alive and in the flesh strikes Obi-Wan strangely. He is a soldier of the Jedi Order, a master. He never thought he would see his family again. But either way, the Jedi are gone. These people, these strangers, are all that remain of his origins.
I need to think. Let's go back to the inn and figure out how we're going to play this.
As you wish, Master.
Cal, here? It's just Ben.
Obi-Wan and Cal go back to the inn and enter the room. A man already sits in wait. Obi-Wan is startled, draws his lightsaber defensively. A moment passes, then another, and another. Obi-Wan looks at Cal. He is calm. Obi-Wan disengages his lightsaber and accepts what's happening. This was a setup.
You.
The man leans forward and speaks.
Hello there, son.
Kento makes his formal introduction.
I have lived many lives, Obi-Wan. I've won and lost many fortunes, and raised a family I am very proud of, and yet, I don't know if there is a more significant moment in my life than this moment right here, right now. I know I am a stranger to your eyes, but I see in your eyes the same far-off look you had when I first held you in my arms. It has been a long time. My name is Kento. I am your father. Welcome home.
The man hugs Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's feelings are mixed. He doesn't fully embrace the old man. The two exchange pleasantries, but it quickly becomes clear that Kento sent Cal to bring him here. Obi-Wan is annoyed at the deception.
Why didn't you tell me?
We weren't sure you would come. Besides, what we told you is true, from a certain point of view.
A certain point of view?
Son, I love the Republic, and I believed what the Jedi stood for. When the Republic fell, and I saw what was happening, I knew what I had to do. Get clever. I knew that above the Empire's hatred for the Jedi, and Force sensitives, hung something else. Something much more powerful.
Obi-Wan and Cal hold their breath for the answer.
Greed. I knew if I could convince my local senators to give me custody of Force sensitives, that the Empire would be forced to entertain the idea. They ran up considerable debts during the Clone Wars and needed affordable munitions. Dictatorships don't run on hatred alone, son. Commerce would be instrumental for a sustainable imperial government, and if I could build them warships twice as fast for a fraction of the cost, they would oblige.
So you built a fortune off of the free labor of child prisoners of war?
It was either this or death for them, son. These are Force sensitives that are too weak for the Empire to perceive as a threat. But I believe they could be with the proper instruction.
Why now?
We have enough resources now, enough manpower. I plan on turning every dollar I made off of the Empire against them. But most importantly, now we have you.
Obi-Wan looks back, unsure of how to respond.
You may have only just now learned of our existence, but you have to understand, I have spent the last 10 years looking for you.
To join your damn-fooled idealistic crusade?
Yes, but more importantly, to join this family.
Obi-Wan wrestles with his sincerity, but he trusts him enough to ask the next question.
How many do you have?
Enough.
Are they loyal?
They know I have protected them and been more generous with them than the Empire ever was. They trust me.
All of them? How do you know they won't turn you in?
I don't, but I have hope.
Obi-Wan snarks at the notion.
You're trusting an awful lot on a thin word like that.
It's the only word we have.
With our last name, I am sure they are watching you like a hawk. The slightest misstep, the first hint at betrayal, and the whole thing comes down.
Kento gets a far-off look in his eye. His mind retreats to a very dark place. Obi-Wan can feel it.
You have to understand, Obi-Wan. I have had to do many things to prove my loyalties to the Empire. Well, that's all I'm going to say about that. They will not be looking over our shoulders.
Obi-Wan and Cal's curiosity spikes, but both of them know not to press him. Obi-Wan continues with his questions.
So you want me to train adolescents and children a few parlor tricks and take on the galaxy head-on?
Not head-on. Walk with me.
The three of them make their way to the Kenobi residence. A lavish cliffside estate reveals itself. They enter, and Kento takes them to a private room deep within the premises. Obi-Wan and Kento continue to go through the particulars, the risks, the challenges. Obi-Wan doesn't want to do it. The thought of inadvertently creating another Anakin is almost too much to bear. But he knows the only way through is to do the one thing he has feared to do all this time. Teach. Kento goes on to explain that the Empire is only as strong as its supply lines. If you choke out the blood from getting to the heart, the beast dies. Weaken the Imperial outposts and fan the flames amongst the population, and the people will revolt. Obi-Wan is dubious. He respects the ambition of the plan, but questions its practicality.
Kento, if you do this, your way of life is over. No more dinner parties, no more mansions. You will be on the run for the rest of your life, and so will all of these kids.
Kento takes in his words, but responds quickly.
We've been running ever since the Republic fell, son. Now is the time to fight.
It's inspiring words, but Obi-Wan lacks confidence that he can pull it off. This isn't the mission he was prepared to sign up for. His fear gets the better of him.
You will have to find somebody else.
Kento reminds him that walking away leads him down a familiar road.
You know that path, Obi-Wan. You know where it ends. I do not know what led you to that cave, but I also know no man is meant to live his life hiding who he truly is. I am not saying this plan will work. I am not saying this is even possible. But if there is even the slightest chance that we can be the spark that lights the fire of rebellion, we must do it. There are others out there. They only need the inspiration to stand. All a man can do is make something out of what he is given. This is what we are given. And if it's even remotely possible to fight, we must fight. Not because we want to, or we even think we will succeed, but because it is right.
Did you spend time rehearsing that speech?
A little bit, yeah.
It's good.
Thanks.
Obi-Wan looks at the map in front of him. The risks, the weak points. It's the thinnest possible needle to thread, and yet something stirs within him.
I cannot stay to lead your crusade, Kento. I have my own mission to tend to. But I will train them.
Kento and Cal understand. They know it is only a matter of time before he is fully committed, but they will take what they can get.
We will give you an identity to work within the factory. A medic.
That's good. We can train during nightfall. Is there surveillance?
We have a handle on that.
Okay, then let's get to it.
Without warning, Kento's wife, Nesoni, walks through the door. She begins to discuss a mundane chore, but then sees Obi-Wan. Everything stops. Kento tries to make the introduction, but the shock on her face tells us everything we need to know. She knows who this is.
Can it be real? Is my mind playing tricks on me?
She walks up to Obi-Wan slowly in disbelief.
I know those eyes. The last time I saw them, they were drifting away in the hands of a Jedi. I should have never let you out of my arms that day.
She hugs him, overwhelmed with emotion.
I won't ever let you out of them again.
Obi-Wan warms. He embraces the woman, his mother, Nesoni Kenobi.
Oh, listen to me carry on like this. You must think me mad.
Not at all.
Come, join us for dinner. Both of you. We have so much to discuss.
The reunited family gathers around the dinner table, discussing the dangerous plot ahead. Obi-Wan's brother is not present. He is away on business, but it is decided. Obi-Wan and Cal will be drafted as a medical team to see to the overall health of the laborers. Their cover allows them to be on site and interact with the Force sensitives regularly. There is a basement chamber under the medical building where they can train in secret. It is brought to Obi-Wan's attention that there is an Imperial warden who oversees the facility. Kento and him clash regularly, but the Imperial Munitions Council usually sides with Kento to keep productivity high. This is how he has been able to routinely give the Force sensitives adequate food, shelter, and water. However, occasionally the warden oversteps and abuses members of the workforce. Obi-Wan and Cal agree with the plan. They briefly discuss the long-term vision for this uprising, and Kento reveals he has been planning this for quite some time. When they are ready, there is an underground tunnel in which they can get the Force sensitives out and transport them to a safer location. Obi-Wan reiterates that there will be no going back in that moment, that Kento, Nesoni, and their son will be on the run for the rest of their lives, and that they need to count the cost. Obi-Wan knows what that life is like, but he is not sure if they are prepared for it. All of their wealth, all of their influence will be erased forever. Kento knows this, and he reiterates that they are prepared to pay the price. That is the price of freedom. Together, the four of them retire from dinner and prepare for the days ahead. Obi-Wan and Cal wake the next day. It is a big day. They put on their uniforms and get ready to enter the facility. They give each other one final look of approval as if to say, "All right, here we go." Kento approaches the warden. The pair bicker, but Kento expertly spins a tale about how the Torellian flu is coming into season, and he doesn't want the virus to wash through the entire population. Kento says he is bringing on an extra pair of medics, and will be having them give the population vaccines and routine physicals. The warden looks over Cal and Obi-Wan suspiciously. He is annoyed by this, but grants the request after Kento and him argue back and forth. The men take their leave and head out towards the factory. The shipyard is expansive, sprawling. Obi-Wan and Cal take it all in. Kento explains to them that not everyone in the facility is force-sensitive. We have a rating system. Some can make objects float. Some can see things before they happen. But use of these gifts is strictly prohibited within the facility and met with swift punishment.
Do the people know why we are truly here?
They don't know who you are. Many of them are too young to remember the war, so your identity is safe. But they do know that I would be bringing them a teacher, someone to show them a way out of this place. I've spent years building trust with them. They have no love for the Empire. Some of them have families to return to. Some of them want to fight. Some do not want to get involved. But all will stay quiet.
Okay, let's get on with it then.
Obi-Wan and Cal enter the medical bay, going through their official duties. Some of the younger ones ask if he is the one they've been promised. The teacher. He tells them to remain silent and that more will be revealed later. They spend all day playing the part of factory medics until finally night falls. One by one, the Force sensitives leave their bunks and sneak their way to the medical bunker. Reva and Starkiller are amongst them. The surveillance officer looks over to Kento. Kento nods. The surveillance officer switches the cameras off. The Force sensitives gather below the bunker. Obi-Wan and Cal wait in the large training area, somber as the children organize themselves into rows. Finally, it is time.
Hello there.
Obi-Wan welcomes the group.
My name is Ben, and I was brought here to teach you the ways of the Force.
Cal and Obi-Wan look at each other with trepidation. They are in it now. There is no going back.
Let's begin. My name is Ben, and I was brought here to teach you the ways of the Force, so that hopefully one day you all can take up arms and fight the tyranny that has fallen upon you. However, you should know, before you commit to this journey, knowing what I am about to teach you is punishable by death. If the Empire learns what you are capable of, they will hunt you, and if they catch you, they will kill you. That said, I will do everything within my power to ensure that doesn't happen. But nothing is guaranteed. If this is a path you want no part of, you are free to climb that ladder, go back to sleep, and hope for the best. The choice is yours.
The group looks around. Nobody moves. Galen and Reva stand in the crowd. They look at one another, knowing who this man is. Things are about to heat up.
Let's get started. Gather round. Now you may think that I am here to teach you how to connect with the Force to elevate your potential, how to control it. But that idea could not be further from the truth. The Force is not something to be controlled. Do not think of yourself as separate from the Force. You are a physical expression of its power, and it is an energetic expression of you, of all of us. It surrounds us, penetrates us. It binds us together. The energy you bring to it can change the expression of its flow, and it also acts upon you. If you listen to it, it is a relationship.
A boy in the crowd raises his hand.
How do you have a relationship with an energy field, Mr. Ben?
Obi-Wan smirks.
Have you ever swam in an ocean?
The boy nods.
Could you feel yourself cutting through the water, acting upon it?
Yes.
But was the current also acting upon you? Waves altering your direction?
The boy nods his head again.
That is the relationship. Look here.
Obi-Wan turns on a faucet. Water flows downward and splashes on the ground. He places his hand in the steady stream, and the flow of water changes.
The water flows whether I obstruct it or not. But with the right tools, I can change its direction.
He uses a pipe to flow the water into a cup.
I can drink its energy to nourish me.
He examines the dirty water.
But maybe not this particular cup.
The kids chuckle.
I can use it against someone else.
He lightly splashes a few kids with some flicks of water.
But I do not control it. I can only harness what it is. Every action you bring to the Force adds to its energy and changes the surroundings in small ways, like drops of water in an ocean.
Obi-Wan leaves the water running and outstretches his hand. Beads of water begin to float and fill the room. The kids are mesmerized. Some of the younger ones swat at the floating water droplets like soap bubbles. Reva and Starkiller are not impressed by the display, but are intrigued. Everything he is saying goes against what they have been taught. Finally, he lowers his hand, and the water falls like rain on the kids. They smile and wipe their faces. One of the kids raises their hand.
So if someone is bad, they have a bad energy field. We can feel them?
Unfortunately, young one, the Force is not quite like that. Intentions can be masked, goals obstructed, especially someone who is talented at masking their emotions. We can be fooled. These feelings can sometimes be as faint as a whisper. We cannot always hear them. But one day, with practice, you will. Unfortunately, these days we cannot send you on the pilgrimage to craft your lightsabers, so instead you will need to learn to use your wits and the weapons available to you. Sometimes that may only be your mind. But know this, the collective will is always stronger than the individuals. United, you can all do great things that you couldn't possibly imagine. Our connection to the Force grows or wilts, depending on our willingness to work on it. Like tending to a plant in a garden. Do not let someone else's talent or skill discourage you. Your connection to the Force is distinct and unique, and it will grow in its own time. Now let's begin with some exercises.
Obi-Wan continues. Kento watches from above, proud of this accomplishment. The night carries on. Obi-Wan shows them how to move, but more importantly, how to think and how to feel. The first night is a success. After their lesson, Reva and Galen deliberate. Reva wants to alert Vader immediately, but Galen interjects.
Why don't we see what the old man has to offer? There must be a reason Vader wants him dead so badly. Maybe we can learn of something from him and exploit his weaknesses.
Reva disagrees with the action, but agrees with the logic. The pair decide to keep a low profile and learn as much as they can from the former Jedi. Obi-Wan meditates on his apartment balcony. Kento walks up behind him.
You know, I know you're there.
Kento smiles.
I just wanted to come see how you were doing.
We shouldn't be seen spending too much time together. Guards could get suspicious.
Guards aren't going to risk getting attacked by their superior officers for being wrong. They're cowards.
The pair look down over the shipyard, taking in the glow of machinery and city lights against a night sky.
How do you think it went tonight?
We'll see. I just shared principles with them. Who knows if they will be able to apply them.
Obi-Wan's cynical veneer chips away.
But they have spirit.
Kento agrees.
Do they have what it takes?
The Force is in all of us. Yes, some have a stronger natural connection than others, but even the smallest seed can grow to the largest tree in the forest with the right care. Ultimately, it is up to them.
Was that how it was for you?
I never was very talented at much of anything, but I got by.
Kento contemplates this.
I was always fascinated by the Jedi. Enamored, really. It drove me crazy I couldn't feel what came so naturally to you. When the Jedi visited us, after your blood work was done, I was the one who sent you away. Your mother fought me every step of the way. But I knew you would help people in ways that you never could if you stayed. Most Jedi come from poor families, small villages. Sending your child with the Jedi is an easier choice for parents when they know that they're sending their child to a better life than they can offer them. But for us, it was the hardest decision we ever had to make. But ultimately, we felt that you could do more good for the galaxy going with them, even though selfishly we would have liked for you to stay here. With us.
Kento breaks down.
Did I do the right thing? My bad, Father.
Obi-Wan puts a hand on his father's shoulder. He thinks of all his failures, all his tragedies, but his father's words force him to look at all aspects of his life. He decides to comfort his father.
What's done is done, Kento. It doesn't matter what could have been. It's in the past. But I will tell you, I have lived a very full life. I did find purpose with the Jedi, a family. And even though I have had many failures, I'd like to think that I have done some good in the galaxy.
He looks out over the balcony.
And hopefully we can do a bit more, together.
Kento nods his head, composing himself.
Let's go for a walk.
The pair walk the grounds of the Kenobi estate. We catch them in mid-conversation, catching up on a lifetime of lost stories.
A question has been gnawing at me, son. Where does the name Ben come from?
Obi-Wan smiles.
It was given to me by someone very dear to me. It's a Mandalorian word. The direct translation would be watchful protector, but it's a deeper word than that. Spiritually, it means one who protects with love.
It sounds like a very sacred title.
It is.
Obi-Wan thinks back to happier memories. He remembers Satine. Kento can see the pain of loss on his son's face. He doesn't wish to pry into any more old wounds.
Let's call it a night, shall we?
Obi-Wan nods. The pair make their way through corridors until they see a very stern man walking towards them. The man moves angrily. He pushes Kento against the wall. Obi-Wan steps in.
Hey, back off!
Are you crazy, old man?
Son, settle down. This is Obi-Wan.
Oh, I know exactly who this is. Do you have any idea what you're doing that? You send me off-world on some stupid business trip while you bring in a space wizard to placate your fantasies of overthrowing the government, or have you gone mad?
Son, I knew you wouldn't agree, but I had to.
Had to do what? You're throwing away everything you've built to go up against a tyrant.
Excuse me, but I believe
Shut up!
The three let emotions cool down for a moment, until Kento finally says it.
Obi-Wan, meet your brother, Iridonia.
The two men nod at each other. It becomes abundantly clear that Iridonia doesn't want Obi-Wan here. He is against this whole plan for a long list of reasons. Ito explains to him that their father told him his plan several years ago, and he was against it from the beginning. Ito is no friend of the Empire, but he has become a pacifist. He believes there is nothing they can do and nothing to be gained by fighting. He believes the best course of action is to remain compliant, collect profit, and the storm will pass. The Empire will either spread itself too thin and collapse, or another will come through and overthrow the government, but to not take personal risk. Kento reinforces the idea that we can't wait for others, that we need to take action ourselves. The three men bicker about the merits of their efforts, but none come up with solutions. Kento has the last word.
Son, I know you don't believe in this, but believe in what's possible. Believe in the Force.
The Force. You believe in a power so feebly understood that only a handful could ever wield it. You don't even understand it yourself.
But I do.
Iridonia looks at Obi-Wan.
The Force brought your brother here, son. It's all part of its will, part of its plan.
Its plan, or yours?
The men take in Ito's words.
You both believe in the impossible?
And with those words, Obi-Wan outstretches his hand. A statue rises into the air. It strains him, but he can hold it up. Ito watches his brother perform the impossible. Obi-Wan sets it down gently and looks at his brother sincerely.
Edo, I don't pretend to know you. I don't pretend to know how this will all play out. But our father is right. We have to try.
I won't stand in your way. But just know, if this all goes bad, I'll be the first one to tell you both I told you so.
Noted.
Noted.
Ito storms off. Kento and Obi-Wan watch.
Give him time, Obi-Wan. He is just scared. This life in the shipyards is all he has ever known. Peace is so distant a word to him, it might as well be in another tongue.
The following night, Obi-Wan prepares for his next lesson. Combat.
Good evening, everyone. We strive for peace, balance. But in life there are forces that strive to disrupt that balance, to take, to corrupt, to cheat, to harm others for no other reason other than to better their position. In these moments, you will be tested. Do you run, do you submit, or do you fight? Now, it is perfectly understandable to run from a superior enemy. But what I am going to teach you tonight is that when the Force is your ally, there is no superior enemy. You, what is your name?
Moshe, sir.
Nice to meet you, Moshe. When did you first start to feel your connection? When did you start to feel different?
Moshe looks down, contemplating.
When I realized I could move faster than the other kids in my village.
Good. Today we are going to test those reflexes.
Sir?
Moshe, try to hit me, as fast as you can.
The boy sheepishly moves to the center.
Do not be afraid. Just do your best.
The pair square off and begin. Obi-Wan dodges and moves gracefully as Moshe stumbles and loses balance trying to hit him. He fails over and over. No matter how hard Moshe tries, he cannot even get a hand on Obi-Wan, and finally Moshe falls to the ground and gets frustrated. Obi-Wan congratulates him on the effort.
What can we learn from what you saw?
That Moshe doesn't know what he's doing.
The kids chuckle. Obi-Wan remains composed.
That may be true, but neither do you. Confidence comes from the knowledge of success, which comes from repetition, both of success and failures. And repetition comes from practicing things you do not yet know.
He instructs Moshe to move slower this time. Obi-Wan demonstrates while the pair move.
The conclusion of every contact point, every move of the body is the beginning of the next, and the next, and the next. With time, you will be able to see them and be prepared. With the Force, you will begin to anticipate them and see them before they happen. One move after the next and the next. Every blaster, every fist, every lightsaber has motions that can be exploited. Now, before we begin, does anybody else wish to try?
A hand goes up in the crowd.
I'll try.
It's Galen. Reva glares at him furiously. They are trying to keep a low profile.
Very good. Step into the center. What's your name?
Galen, sir.
Galen. And have you had any combat training?
He nods his head, ready to pounce.
You have a lot of aggression in you, young Galen. Be mindful.
He nods again. The kids wait in anticipation.
Begin.
Galen comes out aggressive, fast, but telegraphing his movements. Obi-Wan can see them coming, but he is impressed by his speed and strength.
Staff.
A kid throws him a wooden boa staff. He makes some advances on Obi-Wan, but he dodges them. Obi-Wan Force pulls a staff to himself. The two begin to make contact. It's quick, intricate, but unrefined. Galen is all power and no precision. Obi-Wan takes a step back.
What?
Nothing. You just remind me of someone.
The pair continue. Obi-Wan can see that Galen is losing control and decides to end the fight. Within 3 moves, he knocks the staff out of Galen's hand and kicks him to his knees. He is beaten. Obi-Wan offers him a hand up. He accepts. Obi-Wan nods, sweating, breathing hard.
You are a talented fighter, young Galen, but you are aggressive, overeager, powerful, but without precision. Clear your mind. Don't think, feel, find your center, and nobody will be able to knock you out of it. Now everyone pair up. We're going to go through sparring techniques. Cal, you take this group here and I will take these ones here.
The group begins their sparring session. A montage unfolds. Days turn into weeks, which then turn into months. The group's abilities grow quickly. Despite his reservations, Obi-Wan is a good teacher. Cal assists with some of the students who are struggling while Obi-Wan nurtures the more gifted. Reva and Galen do everything in their power to underplay their expertise, but Obi-Wan senses their gifts. They can't help but be noticed. Obi-Wan takes them under his wing and mentors them. He knows that Reva is powerful, but that she is holding back.
Reva, you have strength. You have power. You do not need rage. You do not need fury. These things make you stronger, yes, but they also cloud your focus to where you can only see what is in front of you. You lose sight of the rest of the picture.
So what should I do with those feelings?
You need to learn to control them so that they don't control you. Let go of them.
He puts her through an exercise where she takes on multiple opponents and succeeds because she is able to engage the entire field without fury. The lessons continue. Galen and Reva nod to one another. Oddly, these techniques are adding to their understanding and strength. They see glimmers of what made Kenobi such a formidable Jedi. They watch as he demonstrates. They notice small nuances that look similar to Vader's techniques, but more graceful, balanced. Obi-Wan pushes the group hard. During the day, they are little more than slave labor, but at night, they feel like warriors. Moshe has also shown great promise. Kento believes that the band of students are ready. Obi-Wan does not. But the pair must have the hard conversation nevertheless. After a hard day of training, Kento speaks with Obi-Wan privately.
They look good.
They still have much to learn.
I think they are ready.
Absolutely not.
I've gotten word that the Empire is transporting a massive shipment of kyber crystal from Jeddah very, very soon. They are scouring the galaxy for it. Nobody knows exactly why, but if the cargo were to go missing, it could prove quite disruptive to their efforts.
I said no, Kento.
Nevertheless, the window is closing. We may not have the luxury of saying no.
The pair begin to quarrel. Obi-Wan lists out all of the ways that things could go wrong, how they could be killed, captured, or worse, made instruments of the Empire.
I will not put them out into the field.
Obi-Wan, we have a chance to hurt them. The Empire is tightening the noose. We may not get another chance like this.
They are not ready.
We are never ready for the trials of our lives, but we must meet them all the same.
Obi-Wan erupts.
These are children!
This is war! Would you have them work with a yoke around their neck for the rest of their lives, or give them a chance to fight?
I said no.
Obi-Wan turns his back to look out his balcony. Kento takes a gentler posture. He is ready to listen to his son.
Do you know what scares me the most?
Kento listens.
That it's all my fault. That I am chosen to be the failure, the fool. The Jedi who couldn't see, or didn't want to. It all could have been prevented if I wasn't blind. That's what I truly fear. Being blind again.
Obi-Wan, you are not responsible for the evils of others.
Perhaps not. But what is said of men that see warnings and do nothing?
I guess I would tell that man that no amount of time filled with regret in a cave helps anyone, especially the one who resides there.
The men stare at each other for a long time, letting go of past resentments and paths not taken. They embrace as father and son for what feels like the first time.
Obi-Wan, I know they may not be ready, but the truth is, nobody is. Eventually, action needs to be taken.
Obi-Wan knows his father is right. He nods and agrees.
Okay then, in the morning we begin. The first thing we need to secure is a place to keep these kids safe once we get them out of here.
Obi-Wan's mind points toward an old friend. He hesitates, but then says,
I may have an idea for that.
The morning rises on Alderaan. The sun spills over the mountains into a beautiful city. A man rises and goes to his office overlooking the valley. His daughter comes rushing in to wish him a good morning. They embrace. It is Bail Organa and his daughter Leia. A beacon goes off on his desk. He looks at the young girl and tells her to return to her studies. She objects, but he insists. Young Leia leaves the room, but listens in from around the corner. Bail opens the message. It is Obi-Wan. He explains the events of the past few months and tells him that they need to find a place to hide these young Force users, that they plan to take the fight back to the Empire. While systems are not yet in open rebellion, he knows that Bail has likely been working behind closed doors these past years. He asks for his help.
I know it's been some years, Bail, but we need your help. You're our only hope.
Bail takes the words to heart. He ponders for a moment and then contacts his captain to ready his ship. He is going on a diplomatic mission to Stugin. As he walks through the halls, Leia asks if she can go with him this time. He tells her no, but that day will come soon. Leia doesn't like that answer. He bids her goodbye and exits the hall. Moments later, he gets on the ship platform and enters the ship. However, a little stowaway boards close behind him and hides in the storage compartment. Leia is coming with him whether he likes it or not. Back on Stugin, Obi-Wan announces to the group that plans are in motion. But before the group can confront an Empire, he must know that they can confront themselves, he explains.
We do not have the ability to train you how to use a lightsaber since we do not have the material to build one. But make no mistake, the weapon is not the weapon. You are the weapon. What you use are merely tools. Feel the Force flow through you. Let it guide your action, but also harness its power. Galen, Moshe, enter the circle.
Blindfolds are placed over their eyes.
How are we supposed to fight?
Your eyes can deceive you. Don't trust them.
The two square off and begin. An elegant dance of kicks and jabs fill the space. Deflection, attack, parry, and counterattack. The two move so fast, it looks quite impressive. Obi-Wan throws sticks into the middle of the circle. Galen pulls one to him, Moshe the same. They use the sticks as combat tools. Until finally, one of the sticks breaks. Galen tries to stab Moshe, but Moshe dodges. Cal looks to Obi-Wan to step in, but he stays silent. The fight escalates in violence. Galen dodges Moshe's attacks and pushes him out of the way. In one swift motion, Galen is able to get close enough to Moshe. He grabs him, twists his whole body, and slams him onto the floor with ferocity. Moshe goes down. The match is over. Galen helps Moshe up. The rest of the students clap. In Obi-Wan's eyes, they are as ready as they will ever be. But Cal sees a coldness growing in Obi-Wan.
Well fought, you two. Well fought. I want you two to look after the others. You have great potential, but be ready. Use the Force.
He speaks to the crowd.
Be ready, students. The time is coming quickly when our training will be put to the test. I know you may not feel ready yet. Few people ever do. But trust in each other and trust in the Force. Go get your rest.
Cal walks up to Obi-Wan after the events of the day, distraught.
Master, I am concerned.
About what, Master Kestis?
The way in which you're teaching these students. Don't you think it is a little aggressive?
Cal, we are out of time. We need to get these students ready for war. Not training, not exercises. War.
Yes, but don't you think...
Cal, we watched everyone that we ever knew go to the slaughter because we were unprepared. I will not make that same mistake with these students. One day, we will be able to rebuild the temple. But today, we need to worry about war.
Obi-Wan breaks away from Cal. Cal whispers under his breath,
I just think we should be careful about taking the quick and easy path.
Obi-Wan acknowledges. They see a ship land at the platform. It's Bail. He walks out with his daughter Leia, who has clearly just been scolded, but she is here now. Obi-Wan and Bail embrace.
It's been a long time, my friend.
It's good to see you, Bail.
Obi-Wan's gaze turns to Leia.
And who might this be?
We had a stowaway, unfortunately, but I think the punishment we have for her will suit the crime.
Leia shrinks. Obi-Wan gives Bail a look. It is not safe for her to be here, but it's too late to turn around now.
Come, the main house is open to you both. The Kenobis are preparing a dinner tonight. Once you're settled, we will begin.
Later that night, Bail, Leia, Obi-Wan, and Cal sit down to dinner with the Kenobis. Nasoni, Iridonia, and Kento. The group discuss the topics at hand, allegiances, plans, and resources. It is agreed that Bail will escort the youth out of the shipyards in the night in his cruiser. Because he flew in an unregistered transport, his name will not be linked to the escape. They will find refuge on the forest moon Yavin 4, an outpost Bail has been using to smuggle Republic sympathizers. With the plans drawn, the group adjourns from dinner. Later that night, Nasoni brushes her hair looking out the window. Kento approaches.
So, do I steal the wife tonight?
You know you do.
Kento can feel the heaviness in her voice.
What ails you then, my wife?
After all this time, and here we are, about to plunge our lives into turmoil.
She turns to him.
Love, I am afraid. Our family is here. Our entire world is finally all under one roof. I can't bear the thought of losing my son again.
Tears begin to break over her cheek. Kento kneels at the foot of his wife's chair, brushing them away with his thumbs.
Nasoni, we've talked about this moment for years. I know you believe the same as I, and I love you more than life itself because of it. But if you tell me to put an end to this, I will do it. We will find another way.
And what kind of woman would I be to tell my husband to give up?
She brushes away the rest of her tears.
No, Kento. I follow you. From this day to our last.
To our last.
Obi-Wan gets ready to leave the house, but sees his brother smoking in the moonlight. He decides to approach.
Quiet night.
Perhaps the last quiet night of my life.
Obi-Wan humors him.
Iridonia, it wasn't my intent to involve you.
It's not your doing, Obi-Wan. Our father is as bullheaded as they come. Nothing was going to deter him from doing this. Even if he never found you, he would have found another.
A moment of silence fills the air. Obi-Wan can see the worry on his brother's face. The fear creeping in.
I'm not a coward, you know.
I never thought you were.
I've been in battles before. We built our ships after all. We have to test them on military targets. I've seen what the Empire does, and I have no love for it. But the problems in this galaxy are so big. The odds so vast. How could I do anything to assuage them?
Evil wants us to think that we are alone, Iridonia. Because if we believe we are alone, we will be silent. But sometimes it just takes one voice in a crowd to remind others that they are not alone, that they can fight. Evil is the one with a feeble grip, Iridonia. Never hope. It just needs to be reminded every once in a while.
Those are comforting words. You know, Obi-Wan, despite everything, I am glad. I am glad I got the chance to meet my brother.
Me too.
The pair embrace. In the factory barracks, Reva and Galen sneak away. They dig through some rubbish to reveal their lightsabers and their transmitter. They know this is the time. It is time to make the call.
Sir, he is here. It's time.
Off in the furthest part of space, the message is received. A dark hand reaches for a communicator, until finally.
Commander, ready my ship.
It's early morning on Stugin. Our unlikely band rises to meet the day that is about to define the rest of their lives. Kento and Bale are already working to prepare his shuttle. Leia tags along. Edoji and Ness Oni pack their belongings, reminiscing, knowing this will probably be the last day in their family home. Obi-Wan and Cal look out over the factory, knowing this is their last day of peace. They plan to leave tonight after the shift change. They see an Imperial Star Destroyer descending towards the factory center.
Was there a shipment scheduled for today?
I didn't hear anything about it.
The kids stir in the barracks. They look around, ready to do their part. Moshe notices something strange, though.
Where's Galen?
Where's Reva?
Then, out of the stillness, the Star Destroyer opens fire on the factory. Metal and fire shoot in every direction. It is chaos. Everyone in the factory and barracks scramble, running in every direction. Shuttles of stormtroopers flood the facility. Blaster fire is everywhere. Kids get arrested from every corner. Workers being thrown to the side. Everyone is disoriented. Nobody knows what to do. A few of the students try to fight back, but they are disoriented, unprepared. Obi-Wan and Cal look on in horror.
Move.
Without a second's hesitation, Obi-Wan leaps from the balcony and lands on a passing speeder. Cal is right behind him. Several of the Force sensitives are surrounded, scared. They want to fight back, but they are in shock. They don't know what to do. The stormtroopers bark orders at them, while a droid comes through putting on handcuffs. They look around and see several dead buried under the rubble. Glass breaks from above. A figure hits the ground and rises. The stormtroopers freeze for a moment until they realize who it is.
Looking for me?
Blade activates. Troopers shoot. Obi-Wan moves ferociously through the squadron. Powerful and controlled, unrelenting. The troopers can't keep up with his speed. Cal moves swiftly behind. The pair move in unison, like a tornado of light and limbs. The chaos subsides for a moment, but more troopers are pouring in quickly.
Where are the others?
Moshe points to other shuttles flying toward the Star Destroyer. They have taken many of the Force sensitives hostage. Obi-Wan and Cal begin to devise a plan, but in a moment, Kento comes in over the communicator.
Obi-Wan, can you hear me?
Obi-Wan grabs his communicator.
Son, we are pinned down over here. I'm with Bale and the girl.
A look of dread comes over his face.
Where are Mom and Edoji?
The kids hear everything. They are beginning to realize who their teacher truly is.
They are at the house.
As they hear this, they see troops and TIE wings headed toward the Kenobi estate. Kento can see their movement from the hangar. He knows where they are headed.
Son, now you listen to me. Get them out.
Obi-Wan remembers his duty to Padme, to Leia. By the Force, why is she here? He can't let anything happen to her. He pleads with Kento.
Father, we need the ship. It's our only way out.
We'll be fine. Get your mother and brother out first.
Kento shoots a few rounds. The communicator cuts out over the sound of blaster fire. Obi-Wan and Cal look at each other. This is it. A decision must be made.
I'll get the Force sensitives to the hangar and get...
No, I'll do it.
But Master...
Cal, just do it!
Obi-Wan's mind is blurry, unfocused, uncertain, but he knows what he needs to do.
I will lead these students to the ship and get them airborne. You go to the house and get my family out. Then we will circle around to pick you up.
Are you sure?
Go!
Cal nods. The two part ways. Obi-Wan makes his way to the hangar and Cal to the Kenobi house. Obi-Wan fights his way through the factory to get to the hangar with lightning precision and skill. The students run from behind him, finally able to focus and assist. They arm themselves with the weapons from the down troopers. Against a huge force, they are finally able to make their way to the hangar. He sees Kento and Bale bogged down by fire. They shoot back with turrets and blaster fire. Some droids also try to assist. Obi-Wan and the students join the fight and shoot their way through the hangar. Obi-Wan throws his lightsaber to some of the students who are able to use it with some skill, while Obi-Wan makes his way through using the Force and blasters. His ability is awesome. All of his years in isolation, all of his continued training unleashed in a glorious constellation of combat moves. He has grown tenfold from his days on Mustafar. They are down to their last handful of troopers. He sees Leia being dragged away, screaming. In a flash, he pulls the saber back towards him, and without blinking, he hurls it towards the troopers with all his might. Leia shuts her eyes when she sees the blade coming towards her. Then, all of a sudden, she feels the troopers' grips go limp. She hears two helmets drop. Then, each body falls to the side. The hangar is secure. Kento looks at Obi-Wan in shock.
Where's your mother?
Obi-Wan cannot speak it. Back at the Kenobi estate, Nasoni and Edo watch the Imperial force approach from the window. Edo tries to comfort his mother. From the ground, Cal expertly fights his way through wave after wave of stormtroopers. He has truly come into his own as a self-taught Jedi Knight. He uses the Force, deflects blaster bolts, dodges and blocks every manner of attack, time and time again. Finally, he gets to the bridge connecting the Kenobi residence to the mainland. But he stops. Something blocks his path. His shoulders drop, devastated. There stands Galen and Reva. It was them, all along.
We were expecting Kenobi.
Sorry to disappoint.
Don't worry, Jedi. It won't matter soon enough.
Crimson blades ignite.
You can still walk away, guys. You don't have to do this.
Galen is conflicted. These Jedi showed him kindness when nobody else ever had. Reva, however, is resolute.
I don't think so.
Cal pleads one more time, but he realizes the board has been set. He has no choice but to fight the former pupils. He takes his battle stance. From the house, Edoji sees what's happening.
We need to help him.
He parts from his mother and runs toward one of the towers of the estate. The fight begins. Cal engages Reva and Galen in a violent display. This isn't just conflict. This is personal. Everything Cal had worked for, all of the people he had lost along the way, led up to this one shot of the Jedi legacy enduring. Snuffed out by a pair of misguided kids, the fight moves across the bridge. This is no dance. This is no grudge match. This is a fight for survival. Regardless of his passion, Cal has trouble fighting against two well-trained dark side users. Starkiller and Reva make multiple attempts to hit Cal, but neither of them can gain an upper hand over the young Jedi. Reva finally knocks him to his knees, but he quickly gets up. Galen comes in to strike. Cal blocks. Edoji arrives at the top of the tower where a turret sits. He activates defenses and takes control of the turret. He fires on the Inquisitors. Now under fire, Cal gets the upper hand. Reva and Galen pull back. Reva calls for reinforcements. On the other side of town, Obi-Wan feels Cal's distress.
We need to get to the house.
The group departs. He prays under his breath.
Hold on, Cal. Hold on.
Back with Cal. He fights the two with all his strength, but he is exhausted. Reva and Starkiller are shocked this Jedi refuses to go down. They keep having to dodge the fire raining down on them from Idoji. In the distance, 3 TIE fighters can be seen on a strike path with the tower. Obi-Wan and Bail coming up behind them. Reva screams.
Shoot him down!
Idoji turns his attention to the TIE fighters. He is able to shoot one down, then another. He has his eyes on the third, but he sees Cal in distress. In a moment, he chooses to turn his sights on Reva about to strike Cal. Then the TIE fighter lets its torpedoes fly. Idoji sees them coming and accepts his fate.
Sorry, brother.
Nessoni closes her eyes. The Kenobi home goes up in flames. Kento sees it all. So does Obi-Wan. The shock brings Kento to his knees.
What have I done?
His family, his home, is gone. On the ground, Cal uses this opportunity to hit Reva. She is wounded. He turns his attention to Galen, but not before Galen hits him with the hilt of his saber, disorienting him. He is about to strike, but hesitates. Reva takes the opportunity and buries her saber into Cal's chest. Cal falls to his knees. The fight is over. Galen and Reva have won. Obi-Wan grabs his chest as if he can feel Cal's pain as his own. He sees Cal fall and begins to weep. He sees all of the young Force sensitives looking to him for direction, but he doesn't know what to do. He reaches out to Cal through the Force.
Cal, we can get you out.
Cal looks up from the ground, smiling, knowing what's about to happen to him.
It's okay, Master. It's okay. Go.
Obi-Wan's eyes fill with tears, thinking to himself, not again.
Thank you, Master. For everything. May the Force be with you.
Obi-Wan looks at Bail and Leia with tears in his eyes. He knows what he must do. It's over. They have to retreat. Cal watches them ascend from the ground, smiling as blood pools around him. As they escape, Reva and Galen take in the destruction of the incursion. Reva clutches her side from her injury. Galen knows he has an opening, but he is conflicted. Cal is still alive, but fading on the floor. He looks at Galen. He knows what he is thinking. Even after his defeat, Cal is still trying to urge Galen to choose the light. He looks off in the distance and sees Vader approaching. In a moment of impulse, he does the unthinkable. He stabs Reva right through the chest. She turns to him enraged. She pulls herself closer to him, allowing the heat of the blade to slide through her body. She seethes with anger. She can only get out one word.
Coward.
Galen says nothing. He pulls the blade out and takes off her head. And just like that, Reva and Cal's story ends as Cal draws his final breath, defeated and heartbroken. Vader walks the battlefield and sees his apprentice as the sole survivor of this assault. He looks up and sees the last twinkle of Obi-Wan escape, and then looks back to Galen. Galen can feel his rage.
Come with me.
From behind the rocks, a slender figure emerges on the cliffside next to the destroyed Kenobi estate. He is tired, frail, but he is able to pick up Cal's lightsaber that is nestled against the cliffside rock. It is Moshe. He looks up towards the sky. He sees all of the destruction behind him and the long journey ahead. It's nighttime on Yavin. The only light is a handful of fires that pierce through the cold darkness of the abandoned outpost. The air is heavy, all are somber as they try to keep warm. Kento mourns alone. Obi-Wan looks around, assessing their losses.
How many were we able to get out?
No more than 30.
30 out of so many. Do we know where they took the others?
I could poke around a bit. Talk to some of my friends in the Imperial Intelligence Unit. See if they know anything. But the Empire prides itself on secrecy these days.
Obi-Wan nods, defeated. He looks at Leia talking with the other children, helping. The slightest of smiles forms on his lips. Bail chimes in.
I know what you did, Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan looks over.
It was an impossible choice. Don't carry it.
Obi-Wan ignores the comment.
She looks so much like her, doesn't she?
She does have her eyes. And her mind. But her brashness, her fearlessness.
It's him. It was never a choice, Bail.
The two men give a knowing look. Nothing more needs to be said. Obi-Wan finds a quiet corner. He's had to keep it together this whole time, but here in the darkness, alone, he feels it all. He can't hold it in any longer. He doubles over and falls to his knees, trying to hold back his emotion. Moments pass as he endures his grief, until finally a comforting voice comes forward.
Now is not the time for tears, Obi-Wan.
He looks up, and there he appears.
Master.
What troubles you, my apprentice?
Obi-Wan ignores the question and responds with another.
Did you know?
Obi-Wan, I cannot interfere in the choices you make.
Did you know?
No more than a drop of water knowing what part of the ocean it belongs to, Obi-Wan. But would it have mattered if I did?
I am gonna kill him.
You mustn't.
He is a poison, Qui-Gon. He must be destroyed. We are Jedi. We destroy evil.
We are Jedi, Obi-Wan. We keep the peace.
Through violence.
With defense. Never attack.
With all due respect, Master, you weren't there during the Clone Wars. You didn't see the Jedi Purge. I've seen evil, looked it in the eyes. I know when it needs to be stopped.
His fate is not in your hands, Obi-Wan. He is still the chosen one.
I don't care. He killed my family.
Obi-Wan rises.
Obi-Wan, you know where this path goes.
Obi-Wan doesn't respond, but he hears his master. His anger subsides. He breathes, regaining his composure.
Forgive me, Master. I am grieving.
And what will you do with that grief?
I know what I want to do. And I know what I've been taught to do. But I do not know which side to listen to anymore. I don't know what to do. But I do know. This must end.
Trust the Force, Obi-Wan. It will never abandon you.
I will do what I must.
At that moment, a rustling can be heard through the trees. The students and Obi-Wan take a defensive stance. The bushes continue to rustle. They are ready to leap into action. Then Moshe breaks through the tree line, exhausted. Everyone sighs in relief. Moshe collapses. When he regains his strength, he tells everybody before he left the planet he overheard stormtroopers talk about some place called Kamino. They took everyone else there. He was able to collect this information, implementing Obi-Wan's teachings. Obi-Wan is impressed, but also dismayed.
Very good, Moshe. Very good.
Bail questions why they would be taken to Kamino. Obi-Wan knows the horrible truth.
They're trying to find a way to clone Force sensitives.
What?
It's been an obsession of the Sith since the beginning, to cheat death, to bend the Force to their will.
Obi-Wan looks around the campsite. He sees fear in their eyes. They all look to him. Is it over? Do they run? Do they hide? What is there left to do? Obi-Wan is at his lowest, his most vulnerable, but he knows he can't let them see that. So he stands to speak.
Gather around, everyone. Gather round.
The small group forms around him. Kento emerges from the back of the cave.
I know you all are scared. I am too. They hit us. That is what they do. They hit hard enough that they hope to keep you on the ground, living in fear for your lives, the lives of your families. They know they can take them. They can take away everything except one thing. One thing they can never take. Hope. It is fragile. It sometimes shrinks to a whisper. But if even the smallest grain remains, it can grow. It can spread. I lost mine once. You all, along with our friends, helped me find it again.
Obi-Wan begins to believe his own words as he speaks them.
They will never stop coming for us, hunting us. As long as there are Jedi in this galaxy, they will be relentless. And perhaps that is the problem.
The group appears confused.
The Jedi were never meant to be saviors of the galaxy. That was never our place. For 1,000 generations, it was our goal to give people the tools they needed to fight for themselves, to protect the peace. Then we became soldiers. But I see it now. Jedi are not saviors. These wars, this empire, will not be overthrown by armies of Jedi or cloned soldiers fighting battles the people cannot. The people must fight this war for their own freedom. The people must rebel. You must rebel, not as Jedi, not as students, but as men and women, as free citizens of this great galaxy. Sir? Use the gifts you have. You have everything you need, but I cannot lead this rebellion. Not anymore. It must be led by the people. By all of you.
Bail looks at him curiously. Leia stands close to her father.
I am a relic from the past. But you all must fight for your future. I will help you one last time. Our friends are in trouble. So the way I see it, we have 3 options. We can run. We can hide. Or we fight back, not as Jedi, not as soldiers, but as rebels. So, what will it be?
Everyone hesitates, but then Moshe rises, then another, and another. Kento steps forward. Everyone rises.
Okay, then let's get to work.
The group gathers around to discuss a plan. They are going to take the fight to them. Across the galaxy, Kamino security goes on high alert as a ship enters the landing zone. A procession awaits. Some of the stormtroopers chatter about what is going on. The ship lands and the ramp deploys. It's Obi-Wan. He steps out of the ship, stoic, resolute. The stormtroopers raise their guns. Then, the door rises in the Kamino facility. It's Vader.
I did not think you would come willingly.
You have all the leverage here, Anakin. Me for the younglings. That is the deal.
Vader looks to his left, then to his right, as the stormtroopers whisper to themselves about his name. He force pushes the entire entourage of stormtroopers over the balcony with one force push. Nobody can know his identity. Obi-Wan is no longer shocked by his cruelty, but he notices when his old apprentice is off balance.
That name no longer has any meaning for me.
Very well. Lord Vader. I will say it again. Me, in exchange for the younglings.
And tell me why. Don't I just take you right now?
You are welcome to try.
Obi-Wan reveals his lightsaber. Vader stares at him. No emotion can be identified through his cold, dark mask. Both men are a hair's breadth from destroying each other. Then Vader speaks.
The Empire accepts your terms.
I need proof of life.
Vader presses a button and a hologram appears. The children are held in cages, being experimented on. One of them cries out in pain. Obi-Wan gets visibly emotional.
Enough.
Obi-Wan steps forward and offers his hands and lightsaber. A new batch of stormtroopers come through, bind him, and escort him into the facility.
I should have known you would have brought them here to be studied.
An army of subservient Force users was always the Emperor's ambition.
Don't be foolish, Vader. You know as well as I do. A connection to the Force is cultivated over years of training. You can't just implant it in an empty vessel and expect to get a connection from nothing.
And yet we make progress. You will make an excellent test subject, Obi-Wan. We could learn far more from experimenting on one mature Jedi than 1,000 dull Force users. But now, we have both.
Obi-Wan searches the corridors as they walk, looking for signs of the students.
I will give you credit, though, Obi-Wan. We allowed your father to house these Force sensitives because their connection was deemed too useless by our researchers at the time. But now, that connection is much stronger. They are no longer completely useless to the Empire.
Release them, Vader. They have nothing to do with us.
Vader slams the doors. He grabs Obi-Wan and throws him against the wall.
They have everything to do with us. Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan realizes this was never about research.
Tell me, how does it feel to have the ones you loved ripped from your hands?
You waited all those years just so you could kill them in front of me.
A family for a family.
She never ran towards me, Anakin. She ran away from you. From what you became.
Vader Force pushes Obi-Wan against the wall, pulls his blade out, and swings it within an inch of his neck. He lets the heat from the blade sear Obi-Wan's beard.
She would have eventually been made to understand.
Like he made all the others understand.
Vader drops him.
And that's the problem with anger, isn't it? It's always there, until you either let it go, or get burned by it from the inside.
I've outgrown your lectures, Obi-Wan.
Vader throws him on a medical table. The locks clamp down on him. Doctors step into the room.
Brace yourself, Master. This is going to be quite painful. Your reactions are easier to study without anesthetic.
Obi-Wan's eyes grow wide. Vader steps back to watch as the doctors begin cutting, poking, and prodding. Galen enters the room to witness what is to become of this man he studied under for several months.
Let them go, Vader. We had a deal.
The deal has been altered.
Outside, the rebel plan springs into motion as one small group rises out of the water and climbs the massive columns holding up the alien factory. They rig charges on the columns and continue to climb. While Group 2, led by Moshe, enters the facility through a small ventilation shaft. The mission is simple: find and extract the prisoners while Vader is distracted with Obi-Wan. Back with Obi-Wan. He is still undergoing profound torture, gritting his teeth, refusing to beg for mercy.
You always were a stubborn one, weren't you, Obi-Wan? Perhaps if we cannot break your body, we can break your spirit. Let's see how he responds if we torture one of his students. Bring one of them to me.
Starkiller hesitates. These were his peers.
Don't do it, Caleb. Don't do it.
You have no power here, Obi-Wan.
The group enters the main facility and takes out a few stormtroopers, swap out the gear, and pretend to be escorting the rest of the Force sensitives to the holding level. Their droid finds the location. Moshe and his team makes their way through the maze of corridors, while the others make their way to the generator room to cut power. Moshe and company arrive at the holding level and covertly overtake the guards. Group 2 cuts the power to the level, unlocking the gates. Now, United the crew gets ready to make their way to the exit. But they are spotted by Starkiller.
I thought Obi-Wan might try something like this.
Step back, traitor.
You're not going anywhere.
In a moment of panic, Moshe is able to lock the door before Starkiller gets through. What was a breakout escape is now a run for survival.
What do we do?
Through here.
The group escapes through the garbage chute as Starkiller tries to melt through the locks. Back with Obi-Wan, he continues to endure the torture. He passes out from the experience. The doctor shocks him back to consciousness and then begins again. He is drained, he is sweaty, he is weak. In the control room, Team 2 finds out that the Starkiller is hunting the others. What do we do?
What Master Kenobi told us to do. If anything goes wrong, cut the power and get him out to help.
They cut the power. The lights go out.
That's it?
Not quite.
Obi-Wan's restraints loosen. He uses the Force to push a droid at Vader and pulls his saber off his hilt. Vader attacks. The pair swing ferociously as Obi-Wan tries to break free from Vader to get to the students. The battle moves from the research bay to the corridor. Vader slows him down every step of the way, all the way to the test floor. They both move aggressively. In the acrobatics of their combat, they regain control of their own lightsabers. Vader taunts Obi-Wan relentlessly. He notices Obi-Wan is not trying to defeat him, only get around him to escape. Then it dawns on him.
I know what you seek.
In that moment, he uses one of the doors to vanish. Obi-Wan is alone.
Oh no.
Cut to a long bridge in the Camino Labyrinth, where the students are all running to an extraction point. Starkiller coming from behind them, cutting through doors and droids. The power keeps coming in and out, and then it goes dark again. The students pause. Then a red blade ignites. Vader stands between the young students and the exit. The kids flinch in fear. Vader walks towards them slowly.
You did well, youngling. But this is where your journey ends.
The students brace for the worst as Vader approaches. Then, Obi-Wan hits the platform, standing with renewed strength and conviction, right where he needs to be, between Vader and the younglings.
Not this time, Lord Vader.
Obi-Wan raises his blade and attacks. The two lock blades, a decade of rage and anger consolidated into one singular strike. Obi-Wan does everything in his power to get him off of the platform to clear the way for his students to reach the exit. Meanwhile, Starkiller approaches from the rear. The kids are scared.
Time to die.
Moshe steps forward.
Not today, Galen.
You think you can defeat me?
Galen locks Moshe in place with the Force. Moshe grits his teeth in pain, resisting the Force's pull on his body. A small object smacks Galen in the face. He is distracted enough for Moshe to break free. He looks behind him. Another student threw the object.
No, Galen, I don't. But we can.
He steps forward. The other children raise their hands, channeling the Force, individually insignificant, but together, powerful. Galen tries to resist the push from the 100 or so students pushing against him. He keeps stepping forward, but eventually it becomes too much. The students all focus with one final ferocious push. Objects flying in Galen's direction throw him off balance until finally he is pushed off the platform into the abyss.
Goodbye, Galen.
At that same moment, Obi-Wan comes back and kicks Vader off. The pair fall into the labyrinth of robotic carousels of test tubes below, paving the way for the students to flee.
Run!
Then Vader attacks. Obi-Wan is overwhelmed by his power. This is not Anakin Skywalker. This is something else, a new creature. His strength is almost too much for him to manage.
Just as you have destroyed my family, Obi-Wan, I have destroyed yours. You have no family, no power, no allies. You are alone, with nothing.
In a moment of locked blades, he sees the younglings escaping. He thinks back to happier memories, reuniting with his family, training the younglings, seeing Luke grow, Leia leading, a future that has yet to be written.
You're wrong, Darth. I have hope.
At that moment, Obi-Wan goes on the offensive. He beats Vader's chest plate in. His breathing begins to flutter. Obi-Wan uses the Force to hurl objects at Vader. He is now on his back foot. Obi-Wan attacks again and again, until he slashes his face mask. Vader stumbles, succumbing to his injuries and technology failing him. Obi-Wan buries him under some bits of rubble to the point he is pinned in, trapped. He approaches him, deciding if he should deliver the final blow or not. But then he sees through the broken mask. Obi-Wan looks at him, seeing the broken man under the armor, seeing the eye of his former apprentice.
Oh, Anakin.
Obi-Wan approaches, unsure if he should end Anakin's misery or let him live. He carries so much anger inside of him, so much guilt for all that he has lost, all his mistakes. He looks down at Anakin, buried under the rubble.
Aren't you going to destroy me?
Obi-Wan's eyes of rage turn to pity. He remembers his old master's words.
Train him, Obi-Wan. Train him.
He wouldn't want me to.
Obi-Wan's grip loosens on his lightsaber. He deactivates it and kneels to Anakin's level.
Come with us, Anakin. Let me help you. Please.
Anakin is gone. I am what remains.
Tears well up in his eyes. His friend's soul is in agony. It is written all over his face.
I pray that you find the light again, brother. I truly do. But until that day, I will be standing right where I belong, between you and the evils you desire.
Obi-Wan stands, triumphant over his fallen apprentice. Starkiller watches from the darkness. Obi-Wan looks over at him, knowing this is where their paths part. He turns and leaps towards the exit. Starkiller walks up to Darth Vader, clears the rubble, and attempts to stand him up.
Stop them.
But Master, you said...
I said go.
Hesitantly, Starkiller leaves his fallen master to pursue Obi-Wan. On the platform, Obi-Wan runs towards the escape vehicle, his students and Kento cheering him on, Bail and Leia waiting in the cockpit. Obi-Wan enters. His students hug him. They all got out.
We've rigged the charges on the comms. We need to go.
The ship pulls away. Starkiller sees them pull away and opens fire from a turret below. Shots hit the ship. One energy bolt hits the primary antenna. At that very moment, Kento hits the detonation button. Nothing happens. He and Obi-Wan look at the facility in disbelief.
If we don't destroy that facility, they will keep running experiments on Force sensitives.
All of the Camino in research on advanced cloning is in that facility. Kento and Obi-Wan look at each other, knowing what needs to be done. Obi-Wan grabs the remote detonator. He is going to need to be up close in order for it to work. He gets into the escape pod. Kento tells his son to wait. He hugs him.
I love you, son.
Obi-Wan hugs him back. And in that moment, Kento shoots Obi-Wan in the shoulder with a stun shot and pushes him out of the pod. He grabs his cloak and hits the escape button.
Dad, no!
I will be with you, son, always.
The pod flies through the air, pushing its way back towards the facility. Kento is at peace. He thinks about his wife, his son, his legacy. He sheds a tear for them, but knows there is hope for the galaxy as long as his son lives. He drapes himself in Obi-Wan's robe and activates a blue lightsaber. It's Cal's. The pod crash lands on the platform. Stormtroopers and Starkiller march toward it. A cloaked figure emerges from the pod. Starkiller assumes it's Obi-Wan. Who else would be carrying a blue lightsaber and Jedi robes after all?
You back for more?
Kento smirks. He outstretches his hand and presses the detonator. Now in range, the bombs go off. Everything crumbles. The structural integrity of the entire facility buckles as they take on water. All of the galaxy's most advanced hidden cloning techniques plummet into the deep. Vader and Starkiller narrowly escape. The battle is over, but the rebellion has just begun. Kento looks up at the sky, accepting his final moments.
I am with you, son. Always.
Back on Yavin, Obi-Wan and Bail chat.
Are you sure you cannot stay with us?
Obi-Wan looks over at the students, celebrating, hugging, reconnecting.
The future of this war doesn't belong to the Jedi anymore, old friend. It belongs to them. Besides, there is someone I need to return to back home.
Bail nods his head. Obi-Wan hugs Moshe and the other young fighters, giving them last words of encouragement.
Your lives are your own now. Make them what you will. Fight for what's right and you will do well.
The students nod and bid him farewell. Obi-Wan looks back one last time on all the lives he has touched, unsure of where their paths will take them. But he knows it's his time now. No longer on the warpath, he is ready to step back and let the rebellion begin. He enters his ship and heads back home. Obi-Wan approaches the Lars farm, this time calm and at peace. No longer the haunted, battle-torn warrior he used to be. He looks at Owen and nods his head. Owen hands him the device back that he gave them when he left.
Anything happen while I was away?
Nothing out of the ordinary. Just a few sand people, a new sarlacc snake in the desert.
Oh? And how did this do?
Fine, Ben. Just fine.
Obi-Wan quietly nods.
Very good.
A young Luke Skywalker jumps out of the hovel to play. Obi-Wan admires his innocence.
Want to meet him?
Another time, perhaps.
And what about your rebellion?
It's not my rebellion anymore, Owen. It's yours. It's Beru's. It's the Hutt's. It belongs to senators and scoundrels, farmers and flyboys, princesses and pirates, families and orphans. It belongs to you, and it belongs to Luke in time. You don't need to believe me anymore, Owen. I promise I won't bother your family anymore. Things will work themselves out in time as long as there are people willing to fight. And Luke will know what to do when the time comes. Hope will endure.
Obi-Wan turns and walks away from the small moisture farm, feeling free for the first time in a very long time. He goes to a lookout point to enjoy the sunset and watch over the farm. He takes the necklace his father gave him and places it in the sand. A look of peace comes across his face. He smiles and looks down at the device Owen returned to him. He presses it. A beeping can be heard behind him. He turns around to see a figure shrouded. He sets down his blaster rifle, sits next to him, and removes his hood. It is Commander Cody.
It's good to see you, General.
It's good to see you too, Cody. How did things go here?
It's been quiet here, General, as always. But there's something I think you need to know.
Tell me everything.
Cut to the far side of Mos Eisley in the mountains next to the Dune Sea. Within the mountain range, a dark cave is hidden, barely visible. A dark figure repels into the abyss until he finds himself in a huge underground cave. Light reveals an underground lake surrounded by massive kyber crystals. All of these years, right under their feet, the Empire will find this most fascinating. A sound startles the robed figure. Red blade activates. He turns. Maul has returned.
Hey guys, I hope that you enjoyed this ambitious project that we just completed. As you can probably guess, these projects are a massive undertaking, so I cannot begin to overstate how much we appreciate you, the viewer, being here, which leads me to why I'm here talking to you. This year, we are trying to build this little channel into a thriving content community, which is no small task. So in order to do it, we're going to need some support. So today, in addition to the free community that we already offer on Discord, we are relaunching our premium subscription on Discord for $4.99. Now, while our content will always be made freely available on YouTube, the revenue from this membership will go directly into giving this channel the resources it needs to build more stories faster, better, at a higher quality. In return, what we want to offer you as a subscriber is access to a creative and fun community of storytellers, readers, movie buffs, and digital creators. We want to create the most robust community of storytellers possible. We're also going to offer early access to all of our projects, and we're going to do bi-weekly chats with me to discuss current projects, maybe some of your projects as well, and just have general conversations about storytelling. We want to empower you as a subscriber to be able to tell your own stories and participate in the community in whatever way that feels right for you. Now, full disclosure, we're looking to try to breach a threshold of about 1,000 premium members, 1,000 maniacs. That's what it's really going to take to bring this vision to life. But even if we don't hit that goal, we're still going to be making content. So if you want to support us, the best way and the most meaningful way to support us is going to be subscribing on Discord. Now, if you don't know what Discord is, think of it a little bit like a Patreon. If you're unaware with anything about how to do it, I'm going to show you how to do it right now. It's easy. Don't worry about it at all. Basically, it functions like any major platform. There's a login screen. You're going to need to give an email, create a password, and create an account. Once you create an account, you're going to see a page that looks a little something like this, pretty bare. And all you're going to do is you're just going to add a server. You go to the little add button, and then you hit join a server. So all you're going to do is copy and paste the link that's going to be provided in the description below in this video, and hit join server. You can also just click on that link and it'll take you right to the server as well, and you'll click join. But your job's not quite done at this point. You're going to go to server shop, server subscriptions, and then click subscribe, put in your credit card information, and hit subscribe. Now all credit card information is processed through Stripe, so it's processed safely and securely. We really hope that you consider joining our mission to offer the highest quality storytelling possible. But if not, we understand, and we will keep making content as usual. But please consider this as a way of supporting us as well. Until next time, keep creating, and see you in the next one. Cheers.